Welcome to this video of introduction to the basic search functions in HistText. We're here in the search and document retrieval interface. Let's start with the different panels. As you can see here, we have two major panels. The panel on the left here is the one where you have all the elements for implementing your query, from entering the term to the various filters that we'll be using to define more precisely the query. And the right-hand side panel is a results panel. At this stage, it's completely blank, of course, but you can already see several tabs. And the tabs correspond to different presentations of the results. Let's start with the corpus. All the corpora in the modern China text database are listed here under coded name. If you click on this menu, you can see that there are different titles, all of them again as coded names. You can also see here only the collection that are open source. If you want to have access to those resources under license, then you need to log in. Let me show you. This is quite quick. In my case, I've pre-registered my login and password and I validate. You would have to do that if you have an account with us. And in this case now, once I open the same menu, then I have new items. I have ProQuest and I have the Shembo in two versions. Now, the name codes do not mean much. So if you want to know more exactly what they correspond to, then you just have to click on this button here, a question mark, and with each coded name, then you have a brief description of what they correspond to, like here, Shunbo is a Chinese newspaper, Shunbo, published between 72 and 49, etc. We will update this list as we go and as we add new resources. If you want to know more about the corpora, please refer to the user guide that you can find here, the general manual here. This is a direct link and we introduce more fully the different corpora. Now, if you want to start a query, this is very simple. All you have to do is to enter a term here or several terms. Everything is possible as long as you place these terms between quotation marks. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to use first a Chinese word and then an English one. I will first use the Shembo. I will go to this Shembo revised. This is the version that we have revised and we have removed some errors that existed there. And I will enter the term National Resource Commission. So it's in Chinese, it's 资源会. Once you've entered the term you're looking for, then you have to choose whether you want to look up documents or concordance. I will come back to concordance later in my demonstration. At this stage, I will only retrieve the documents. So all you need to do is to click on Submit. As you can see, it was quite fast, probably because there are few references in the newspaper about this National Resource Commission. I got 31 entries under this name. Of course, there are more, but this is another issue of denomination. So you can see here the basic information that you get in the results panel is simply the document ID. Each document in whatever collection has a unique ID, the date, the title of the article, and the source. Here, in this case, I have a single source, so there's only one title that appears. You can click on this if you want to reorder your results. For instance, here you have the earliest paper in 1936 and the latest one in 1949, sorry. Now, for the purpose of demonstration and for non-Chinese reading users, let me now do it in English. and I will then use the ProQuest collection, because the ProQuest collection includes several titles, and this is very interesting. You will see in our demonstration. For my demonstration, I'm going to use this term, childbirth, and again I'm going to simply submit and retrieve the documents. Well, I have 502 entries. At this stage, you can download the results. All you have to do, as you can see here, is to click on the Download Search Results button. You will get a CSV file or a TSV file that would include the information listed here. Already you can see that in the results, compared to the previous one, in the source column, then you have several titles. South China Morning Post, China Press, and there are more in fact. So this is the first stage, the first basic query. It gives you an idea of how much information there may be in this or these periodicals that refer to the term that you have selected. Now we're going to go one step further. We're going to retrieve documents content, which means the full text of the articles. We're also going to retrieve document statistics. We'll see that they will be presented as visualization. And since we're interested in what was said about childbirth in terms of named entities, I will explain that, then we're going to retrieve also the named entities. Let me submit again. You will see that it will go through several sequences of retrieving the documents, then the statistics, and then annotating to add the named entities. In the search results, you obtain the very same thing. There is no change, this is just the same. But if you move to the other tabs, let's check documents content, then here you can see there's something new. You still have doc ID, date, title, source, but you have also the full text. You not only have the full text, but the queried term, childbirth in this case, is highlighted in red in both the title and the full text of the article. So this is a quick way, of course, to see the importance or the place of the term and the type of article that you have found that refers to this issue. If you want to see all of them one by one, you just have to click on these numbers down here or the next button. It will display the 502 entries. So now you have a concrete view of the type of text. You can at this stage also download again the document content. So you will have the same as before plus the full text. In Chinese you would have a separate column, we can do it later, that would include also the tokenized text. Let's now move to the document stats statistics tab. Well, the first one that you can see is this one that gives you the number of occurrences of the term childbirth, in our case, in the text fields. It tells you that in more than 400 documents, it appears only once. So it mentions, only once. In a much lower number of articles, it's mentioned twice and 3 times and etc. So it gives you an idea. So it's a unique, most of the time it's a unique mention. Now, this is a list of the different visualization that we propose. You can have the results by year, for instance. So it gives you in absolute number, the number of times the childbirth is mentioned. So you see a peak in this year, for instance, and you can see it's fairly flat in the earlier period. Yet this visualization is only, again, the absolute number. But the absolute number may be affected by other factors, such as more pages, more articles in a year, etc. So that if you really want to have an idea of the real place of the word, then it's better to use this visualization, word count percentage of search terms, so childbirth in this case, compared to the complete word count in each year. So you see a different presentation. You can see that the peak is still present, the one that we saw before, but it's smaller. But over there, you can see many peaks, in fact. So it seems that the issue of childbirth may be more present in these different articles on these very years. We also propose a visualization of the number of characters in the text that you have retrieved. It gives you a sense of the the kind of articles. Most of them fit in the range of short articles of 174 to almost 5,000 characters, not words, characters, and very few are in these very extended articles like this one here, more than 14,000 or 18,000. So it's another statistical view of your corpus. To make it sure, let me now show you the results by source. So in the case of the ProQuest collection, and it could be true of other collection, then we have different periodicals. So it shows you the distribution of that same term, childbirth, across the various publications. Obviously, the main titles are the China Press, the South China Morning Post, the North China Herald, and 2 other publications, which means that this gives you an indication that perhaps, in fact, it is more interesting to filter your results and focus on these publications, for instance. This is something that we'll see in another video. Another feature of HistText is to produce a word cloud. It is created on the fly, as you can see. So a word cloud, you're certainly familiar with this notion, is in fact a way of representing all the terms that are related to the term that you have searched in terms of the number of occurrences. So if they are bigger, it means that they are more present in the text that you have retrieved. You see women, of course, it's quite natural. You see mother, but you also see children, diseases, health, and other related terms. This is a raw result. It's not filtered. It takes everything. Okay. The last feature I want to show is the name entity recognition. We'll come back to that in more detail when I do the demonstration on the other interface, the NLP tools of HistText. But we included it here for the purpose of giving a preliminary idea of the content. In fact, it will display here only the first 10 entries that have been found with the term childbirth. Briefly, what you have here is 2 tabs. The first one is for a data frame that again gives you tabular data. Again, you have the doc ID of the document, then the type of named entity, the text that was identified as corresponding to this name entity, here London for a geopolitical entity. This is actually the location of the term in the text. This is not very useful unless you use other computational methods to take advantage of this information. And then you have a confidence index. It means that how confident the algorithm is that it has identified the term correctly, that London is indeed a geopolitical entity, that 1 is a cardinal number. This interface is helpful in terms of detecting possible problems in your results, such as OCR problems. You can see, for instance, here that the Royal College of Obstetrics probably and gynecologist has some issues, including the very fact that it selected the article that shouldn't be here. You can see that William is misspelled. You can see that the National Health Service again has some issues. Yet it was identified, yet it will require some data cleaning in post-processing, but immediately you can see that. I won't go to the detail of filtering here because this will be done in the next video. Now the other tab is visualization. So here you can see, as I said, the first 10 articles, and you see the text of these articles with the labels that have been added that identify the various named entities. So you see the term, the category, like London, geopolitical entity, one as cardinal, and so on and so on. So you see them in context, which means that possibly you may detect terms that were not recognized or that were recognized wrongly. You can scroll down and select any article in this sample of your results. Now, I would like to. We've seen the basic operations here. As I said at the beginning, you can search for documents, as we just did, or you can search for concordance. What is the difference? The documents will give you the results and the full text of the articles. Concordance is an exercise by which you will select not the articles, but the term in context. I will continue with childbirth and then come back to the Shenpo. When you click on concordance, you have a new window that defines the context size. It means how many characters do you want on both sides of the term childbirth. 30 is far too low in any Latin character language because these are just characters. So let's select a larger context size of 200 characters that will be distributed again on each side. You will see of the queried term. You submit it as before. Since I checked all the other tabs, it's doing the same work, but the most important part here is in fact the results. Okay, we find our query term childbirth here in the matched column, and then on either side you have the text that appears before childbirth. In this one there is nothing because childbirth is a title, and the text that follows the term. A good example is this one because it says many deaths London, one of Britain's top authorities on childbirth warns that, etc. So you can see that we have the context in which the word childbirth appears. You could select a larger size content depending on what you want to do. It's another way of getting a sense of the content with a focus, a more precise focus on the text context of your queried term. I can do the same as I did before in Chinese in the Shenpo. It's important that show that I type the same. Of course, I change the corpus. In Chinese, one character is really one character, like a sinogram. So 200 is probably too much for an exploration. I will limit it to, let's say, 100. It's quite generous. Let me run it again. Okay, we now have our results. As you can see, a lot of them here appears to be titles because there's nothing before the term. If we move to another page, then we find it with all sorts of context, including a better definition of its name, the 中央资源会, for instance. We find it in relation to all sorts of economic information. And we find it here as part of article that mentioned the 对院会, the National Research Commission, as you can see here. So, and of course, you can, in the same way as for the search results or document contents, you can download in TSV or CSV the concordance results. This is all for today, and in the next video I will introduce the advanced feature for filtering in this and improve and focus much more your query. Thank you very much for watching.